I was called Jessie after my father's sister, an aunt, and Alison after my mother.
The bright blessed day, the dark sacred night.
My mother was Alison Anderson Bell, and she was born in Dunfermline, Scotland. My father was George Merson and was born in Aberdeen, Scotland. And they both came out to Australia, not together but separately. And my father boarded at a boarding house, and my mother's aunt, Jean Kirk, she owned the boarding house, and my mother used to go there, and that was how they met. I think we were always fairly close as brothers and sisters. We all went to school together the one time and came home more or less together. My mum was the one that was very strict. You're a bit wary of her. But Dad had a wonderful personality, and he had a lot of patience, and I think I'd have got on a lot better with Dad, and you could confide more in Dad than you would in Mum. Then at an early age, in his late 50s, he developed blood pressure, and in those days there were very little medication for blood pressure except diet, and he developed this blood pressure, and then he started to have blackouts at work, and at that stage he was to be promoted to the head office in Brisbane, but unfortunately his ill health beat him, and we had to ask him to retire because of his memory. He wasn't quite aware of it, but we had to tell him, and he retired then. And he died when he was 61. And that was always one of my regrets, because the grandchildren never got to know him, and they would have really loved him because he had such a lovely personality and was a lovely man. Mum had a fairly determined personality. She probably had a fairly difficult childhood because she had a sister that was blind, and I think she looked after her, and she often spoke about how she used to walk for miles over the hills of Scotland. And when she came out here, she worked as a maid for the Morrow family at Ascot, who were the owners of a biscuit factory, Morrow's. And she had apparently a very nice person. They were very, very fond of her, and they christened her Lady Alice while she worked with them. And she was determined. She was quite strict. In those days, parents were strict, and they had a stick or a strap or something like that. So that made you a little bit scared of her. You had to do as she said, or else. But Dad wasn't like that. He never raised his hand. You could go and talk to him and have a bit of fun with Dad.